I would like to welcome you to Hecla Island. It is the largest island in Lake Winnipeg, and I'm standing on the shores of Lake Winnipeg right now with the Hecla village in behind me. I'm Maxine Ingalls, and I lived here as a child, was raised here, and now live here once again, have done full circle. During the video, I would like to introduce you to several people that will give you some aspects of what Hecla was like and the importance of maintaining our Icelandic history and heritage in this area. Hecla was a thriving Icelandic community until later in life when people moved off, and then of course it became more like a lot of islands. The children move, and then lately, in the last 20 years, we have started to revitalize again, and we have community once again here. And today, it's mostly known for fishing and tourism. Tourism developed more as the causeway and as a ferry came to the island. Today, we consider still the main industry at Hecla is fishing, and we continue to have fishermen that are 5th and 6th generation of Icelandic fishermen that continue to fish in the summer and the winter.
My name is Robert Grimmelson. I'm the 5th generation fisher of Hecla Island. And my father was born and raised here. And my grandparents were born and raised here. They're all fishermen up till the original settlers of my family in the 1800s. I now live in Riverton with my wife and family, and I continue to fish at Hecla to this day. There's lots of opportunity for fishermen here now. It's quite expensive to start off from nothing, but if you're in the family, it's a lot easier because you've got equipment and stuff you can borrow or rent. And yeah, it's a good living. It's lots of hard work, but it's a lot of fun, and it's huge family traditions. We catch a lot of pickerel and a lot of whitefish. So we use the Vomiteer in the winter to haul our fish. A Vomiteer has 2 tracks, rubber tracks with metal cleats, 2 big skis, and basically a hollow shell with a couple of seats in it for driving, and it holds usually about 20 to 25 tubs of fish. I don't really think fishing has changed all that much from the 1800s till now. A few advances in machinery and stuff, but we still use the same chisels and axes and hooks and needle bars. And it still relies a lot on physical labor. There's augers that makes it easier. There's net pullers now in the last few years. But it hasn't changed a whole lot, I don't think. I'm not sure how far my family will go with the fishing, but my oldest son, who's 22 now, he does enjoy fishing. He does help me a lot, and he fishes in the winter with other fishermen and me. But he's just not terribly keen on it, but never know. He might take it up part-time, which is fine.
Hecla Island was just that. It was isolated, an isolated island. The people not able to access the mainland because there was no ferry, there was no causeway. And so they were reliant on each other for support. They were able to support one another in times of crisis. And they worked together in those times, both individually, in the medical field, in delivering babies. But anytime there was a crisis, they worked together to support and make sure people were looked after.
Well, I'm Lorraine Helgeson-Hurst, and I was born or raised in Hecla till I was 13 years old. I've always had an interest in what went on at the island here and in our history as Icelanders. I'm a 4th generation on one side and 3rd generation Canadian Icelander. Well, this Johann Stromford, he immigrated from Iceland in about 1877. Now, he was a natural, self-taught homeopathic, and also he was into as a midwife. He had taken microbiology, he was trained in that, and pharmaceutical issues. He came to Hecla, and he started out sort of by Gull Harbor, but then decided to move across to I believe it's Engay, which is Goose Island, so he could graze his sheep. And he would help the women, but men would have to row their wives over if they were pregnant. rowed them over, and him and Johann and his wife, Chrisberg was her name, they would deliver the babies, and they would do any postpartum care and stuff. And when the ladies were ready to go home, then they would be rowed back to the island. And of course, in the winter, you would have to pull them by sled. If a woman was, I'm going to use my mother as an example. I was born the end of November, and my dad always said that they took the sleigh, loaded Mum on the sleigh, and pulled her across the ice on skates. My Uncle Loudis walked in front with a stick, checking to see that there was no cracks. So Mum went to Selkirk. I was born. She spent, I think, 2 weeks. And then they made arrangements to bring her to the causeway, and they skated across the ice and brought me home. You know, that's just the way life was back then. And I think sometimes it was fun. You know, it was, when you stop and think about it, like, maybe it was very hard. I can say that looking back now, but I hate going across the ice to this day, though. So I think we're very, very fortunate how far we've come. And I know back probably anytime I heard any of our relatives, they spoke so highly of the people that were here to help. You know, be the nurses, the midwives, the self-trained people that were there to help anyone. So I think we gotta just be thankful for everything, just like our parents and grandparents were too.
Hecla's like all small villages, towns. They tend to lose their people, and then there is a little bit of revitalization, but there's always a need to remember our past. And as Icelanders, that has been so vitally important to us, to maintain our heritage, but to also maintain the past and not to allow that to be forgotten. And so the way we do that is by means of museums and perhaps some monuments that we can put up in honor of those that we loved.
My name is Heidi Gricholski, and I am a 6th generation descendant of the Sergeson family and a proud Icelandic Canadian. Welcome to my great-great-uncle Gady's house. My connection to this house here is my great-great-great-grandmother, otherwise known as Madam Ingebjörg, arrived here in 1888. And with her, she brought her children. And one of those children was my great Ebbe Villemer, and he had children with Christine Thomason, and one of those children was Gade, and so there's a connection. Great-great-uncle Gade was my great Ebbe's brother. I am on the board with the Descendants and Friends of Hecla Island Heritage, and we are responsible for fundraising and maintaining the museum. We staff it, so it is a congregation of all of us folks here that are still part of Mikley or Hecla Island that keep the museum going. So as a visitor to Hecla Village, I would suggest that you go on a little tour of the village, and what you could go and see, you could start over at the fish station, and you could head on over to the school from there and make your way past our lovely museum here. Further down the road, you could go to the tool shed and the red shed, otherwise known as the red shed, and take a look at my Uncle Benny's tools that he's collected and put there. After the expropriation of the residents of Hecla, some people felt that it was important to keep the memories alive. So we had this museum put together by the Descendants and Friends of Hecla Island Heritage to continue those memories, taking care of all the artifacts that were a collaboration of the folks that were formerly of Hecla Island, put in here, and we're taking care of it to this day. So when I bring my daughter through the museum, I want her to appreciate all of the artifacts in here and realize how difficult it was for my family to come across, and the families of all the residents of Mikley. They had to make their own wool. They had to stoke the stove with wood and heat up their water. It wasn't simple like turning on a tap. I want her to appreciate what our families went through to make it over here in Canada. That's important to keep it going. And thank goodness for descendants and friends of Hecla Island heritage for coming together to ensure that the museum continues to go on and on for years to come.
Through the video, we've tried to show you a little window into what life was like at Hecla. And most of it I want to leave with you is that we would remember what our parents and grandparents have done for us. At the southern part of Hecla is a place called Kirkjubol, Church Abode, and there's a monument there to those that died from the smallpox epidemic in 1877. The smallpox epidemic of 1877 and COVID of 2021 are stark reminders of the frailty of life and how vitally important it is that we love and honor those who have gone before us, who have set this beautiful background for us and given us an opportunity to maintain and honor our Icelandic roots and heritage. Thank you.